Hola, buenas tardes. Bienvenidos. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. Thank you for joining me for this afternoon's Dia de los Muertos program for Hedberg Public Library. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about Dia de los Muertos or Dias de los Muertos and do some activities and do some crafts. So thank you again for being here. Muchas gracias por reunirse conmigo hoy para asistir a este programa virtual. Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, is a festive holiday that is celebrated around the world, but especially in Latin America in countries like Mexico. There are actually 3 dias or days of the dead. Excuse me. And while the dates of October 31st through November 2nd coincide with Halloween, All Souls Day, and All Saints Day, they are not the same. October 31st is the day that spirits of children who have passed are remembered. November 2nd is the day to remember the adults who have passed. The traditions of this holiday are a mix of pre-Hispanic beliefs and Spanish Catholic beliefs. Los Días de los Muertos, or Days of the Dead, are spent with families cleaning cemeteries and tombstones of their loved ones and honoring the lives of those who have passed. Families spend a lot of time and money preparing ofrendas and food, and will even take the favorite foods of their loved ones to the grave sites to share a meal with them as they share stories about those who have passed. This holiday is not scary like Halloween or sad like a funeral. It is a time to remember and to celebrate the lives of those who have gone before us. Families play music and tell stories about their loved ones. This is important to note because there is a belief that no one is truly gone until there is no one left who remembers them. The movie Coco has a beautiful depiction of this. In Mexico and the other countries that celebrate this holiday, families will also build an ofrenda or altar in their homes. There are also community ofrendas that are built in churches and cemeteries. The ofrendas consist of several pieces with special meaning. An ofrenda, which can be very large and detailed, is usually created for an individual person who has died and is intended to welcome him or her. However, community ofrendas can be created to include photos of many people. A typical setup for an ofrenda is for it to have 3 levels. The top tier identifies the setting of heaven and generally has a picture of the deceased person. The second level represents earth and has objects that encourage the dead to feel at home and welcome. For example, the deceased person's favorite food might go on the second level. For example, if it is an adult, they might have calaveras de azúcar, sugar skulls, or a traditional sweetbread called pan de muerto. Also, for deceased adults, the ofrenda might include a favorite pastime, while if the deceased is a child, you would find a favorite toy. The bottom level represents the underworld and almost always contains lit candles and might also have a wash basin, mirror, soap, and a towel so that the spirit of the deceased can see and refresh themselves upon arrival at the altar. Throughout the altar, or ofrenda, you will find bright orange and yellow marigolds, cempasúchil, that's the Aztec word, for the flower of the dead, which is used for its bright colors and strong aroma that can help lead the spirits to the ofrendas. Other items that you might find on an ofrenda include an arch made of tall sugarcane, atole, which is a hot beverage made with corn, glass of water to quench the thirst of the spirit after his or her travels, loteria, which is a game similar to bingo, a personal memento of the deceased, salt to season the food, papel picado, which I'm going to show you how to make, angels, musical instruments, fruits and nuts, saints or other religious decorations, candies, and again, a photo of the person who passed. The tradition of celebrating the Days of the Dead has become popular in the United States now also. It is a beautiful way to gather family and to celebrate the lives of those who have passed. To find out more information about Los Dias de los Muertos, Days of the Dead, look online or check out one of the many books we have in our collection at Hedberg Public Library. So next, I am going to read you this book called Just a Minute. It is written and illustrated by one of my favorite children's authors, Judy Morales. And this is Just a Minute, a Trickster Tale and Counting Book. When Grandma Beetle woke at dawn, she heard a knock at the door. And oh my, waiting outside, she found Señor Calavera. Señor Calavera tipped his hat. What a skinny gentleman. With a pass of his hand, he signaled to Grandma Beetle it was time for her to come along with him. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have one house to sweep. Señor Calavera remembered he had extra time today, so he decided to wait. One swept house, counted Señor Calavera, and he rose from his seat. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 2 pots of tea to boil. Señor Calavera sighed. Waiting a little longer wouldn't hurt anybody, after all. 2 steaming pots of tea, counted Señor Calavera, and he headed for the door. Just a moment, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 3 pounds of corn to make into tortillas. Señor Calavera rolled his eyes. He had to be very patient sometimes. 3 stacks of tortillas, counted Señor Calavera, and he put on his hat. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 4 fruits to slice. Señor Calavera frowned. This was taking more time than he had expected. 4 fruits made into salad, counted Señor Calavera, and he motioned that they should go. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I have just 5 cheeses to melt. Señor Calavera tapped his fingers. This was getting out of hand. 5 melted cheeses, counted Señor Calavera, and he hurried to help Grandma Beetle with her sweater. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 6 pots of food to cook. Señor Calavera threw up his hands. What else could he do? 6 pots of delicious food, counted Señor Calavera, and he offered Grandma Beetle his arm. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 7 piñatas to fill with candy. Señor Calavera shook his head in disbelief. It was getting late. 7 piñatas full of candy, counted Señor Calavera, and he held open the door for Grandma Beetle. Just a minute, Señor Calavera, Grandma Beetle said. I will go with you right away. I just have 8 platters of food to arrange on the table. Enough! Señor Calavera could take no more. 8 platters of food set on the table. But Señor Calavera had lost count. He was too busy stomping on the floor. Senor Calavera, Grandma Beetle exclaimed. Here come my grandchildren. Senor Calavera took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nueve. 9 beautiful grandchildren came through the door. The children sat at the table, everyone at his place. Now, Grandma Beetle said, all my guests are here, and together they make 10. But the guests sitting at the table counted only 9. Grandma, the children protested, where's guest number 10? Here he is, she answered. Yes, number 10, of course, is Senor Calavera. It was time to celebrate Grandma Beetle's birthday. When the birthday cake was all aflame, Grandma Beetle blew out the candles with a gust like a hurricane. When the party was over, Grandma Beetle kissed her grandchildren one by one. Then she announced, I am ready, Senor Calavera. But oh my, where was Senor Calavera? Grandma Beetle found only a note. Dear Grandma Beetle, your birthday party was a scream. I had fun like never before. I wouldn't miss your next birthday party for anything in the world. You can count on that. Sincerely yours, Senor Calavera. Well, if you liked this book by Judy Morales, you might also like the next book that came after Just a Minute. This one's called Just in Case. Again, written and illustrated by Judy Morales, and it is the continuation of the story of Senor Calavera and Grandma Beetle. So for our first activity today, what we are going to do, hopefully you all came to the library and picked up your kits and got the activity sheets and craft sheets and information and all the supplies. And if you didn't, well, you can get these ideas that I'm going to show you off of Senor Calavera's website. He has his own website, and it's www.srcalvera.com. So on there, you'll find activities like this mask. Who is this? This is Senor Calavera. So you can color it however you want to, and then cut it out. And then in these two spots right here, you can punch a hole through, and in your kit, you have 2 pieces of ribbon, and 1 piece of ribbon can be used to tie onto these spots right here, and then you can put it on and wear your mask. But don't walk around with that mask on unless you cut out Senor Calavera's eyes. So I didn't want to cut out Senor Calavera's eyes. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to just cut it out. And after I do that, I am going to hang it on my wall for decoration. So you can do the same thing. I'm not going to finish cutting it right now, but you get the idea. And then you can use maybe your ribbon to hang it up on the wall. The other activity that you can find on Senor Calavera's website is this skeleton. And it's Senor Calavera, and you can color it how you want and then cut it out and put it together. And there are lots of other activities too, and games and other things to see on the website. The other things that you should have in your packet are some worksheets and coloring sheets, things like that. This first one here is Day of the Dead fact sheet. So this is really interesting to get some more information about Day of the Dead. And on the back, it's got a really cool kind of graph or chart to help you understand what the difference is between Day of the Dead and Halloween. So it talks about the origins and the dates and the purpose of each of those holidays and some of the symbols and foods and things. So that's in your kit. Then you also have some other sheets. This one has information about what Day of the Dead is, and tells you a little bit more than what I did about Day of the Dead. So if you want some more information. And then we also have a glossary, and a glossary is a list of words. And this list of words is a list of words related to Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. And the sheets you have should be bilingual. So they're in English on one side and Spanish on the other. So for those of you who maybe are just starting to learn Spanish, or you want to learn Spanish, or you have someone in your family who speaks Spanish, you can practice the words in English and in Spanish. Oh, now this next one is a map of Mexico. And there are some questions and things to do on the map. And one of the things, I didn't give you the answer to that question in the things I've said, so you might not be able to find it on the map if I don't tell you. So I'm going to give you one of the answers. How does that sound? So number 2, it says, what is the capital of Mexico? Do any of you know what the capital is? It's really simple because it's Mexico City. So we don't see Mexico City on here actually, but where it says Mexico, that's pretty much where Mexico City can be found. So I gave you the answer to number 2, but you'll have to figure out the other answers on the map. Oh, and then the next one is a crossword puzzle. Do you like crossword puzzles? I love crossword puzzles. I just love words, actually, in multiple languages, actually. So on here, you have the clues that are listed, and then you also have the words. So it should be pretty easy to figure it out using the clues and the words. And again, English on one side and Spanish on the other. And then I think I like word searches even more than I like crossword puzzles. And this one is, again, using words from the glossary for Dia de los Muertos. And I also love what word search is called in Spanish, sopa de letras. That kind of means like alphabet soup. So that kind of looks like it might be an alphabet soup. Then, you know, for Dia de los Muertos, we always see lots of skeletons. And some people tell me that that's scary for them, but it's not really meant to be scary. The skeletons are always laughing and doing fun things, so they're not supposed to be scary, but this sheet tells you about the person, the artist, who created the first skeletons that then became some traditional images for Dia de los Muertos. And his name was Jose Guadalupe Posada. And he was alive a long time ago. But some of these images that you see here are some of the ones he did that now have become traditional images for Dia de los Muertos. And one perfect example of an image that Señor Posada had created is La Catrina. La Catrina is a fancy lady. She's always dressed in really long dresses and fancy clothes and doing all kinds of fun things. So this is a very traditional image that you will also find all the time with Dia de los Muertos. So this is a coloring page. You should have had one of the coloring pages I'm going to show you in your kit. And you can color it and hang it up in your bedroom or in your home, however you want to. So this is another thing. So how many of you have come to my Dia de los Muertos programs here at the library? Yeah. Well, this year we couldn't do it in person. So at least while you can't make sugar skulls like we usually do at the program, you can do, you can color this coloring sheet of a sugar skull, calavera de azúcar. So there's that. And then this is upside down. This is a picture of Pan de Muerto. Remember I mentioned that? Ooh, I love Pan de Muerto, especially a day like today when it's really cold and windy. Have some Pan de Muerto and have a cup of hot chocolate with canela, so hot chocolate with cinnamon. I love that. But Pan de Muerto is a traditional food for Dia de los Muertos. And if you look, you can see these crosses in the pictures, how it looks like that. Those are supposed to represent bones. You also, and you can find Pan de Muerto in Janesville at the Panaderia. And they also, a lot of times, instead of just having them in this traditional shape like this, will have shapes of like a whole person sometimes. And they have little ones and they have big ones. So go ahead and try them out. Hopefully next year we'll be able to get together for this program. We can make calaveras de azúcar, the sugar skulls, and have some pan de muerto. All right, then the other thing that you will find in your kit is the supplies we are going to make. Remember I said papel picado, and that means cut paper. So you should have a couple of pieces of paper that have this image of a sugar skull on them. And I have already cut one out. And so I am going to go ahead and take out your other piece of ribbon that you have. And then you have glue. And what you're going to do is you are going to put some glue right on that tab, right up at the top up there. Just put a good bunch of glue on there. And then put the ribbon underneath like this and fold over that tab and rub it. And then it should stay on there. And now when you get the other one done, you can put it on here and you can hang this somewhere too. So I'm going to give you some clues about the papel picado. So you will see that there is a nice dotted line in the middle. Make sure you fold your paper right on that dotted line. Then you can start cutting along that edge, and those parts are actually pretty easy to cut out. But when we get to the other ones in the middle, you're probably thinking, ooh, how is that going to work? How am I going to cut out that tiny diamond shape or that little heart? Well, I'll show you a trick that I learned from watching a video on, I think, YouTube. So right now I'm carefully cutting out the mustache, bigote, from the papel picado. And you know, if you have other paper at home, you can design your own papel picado. And normally it's done with tissue paper, but you can use construction paper or whatever kind of paper that you have. So then let's cut out the whole shape. And maybe if you got a couple of kits because you have a couple of people in your family who got them, maybe what you can do is, if you don't like the colors you got in your kit, you can maybe do a little exchange with somebody at your house. I picked these colors because these are the colors in my apartment. So I wanted red and white, or I mean red and blue, rojo y azul. All right, so I'm not going to cut out this whole thing with you because it'll take a while, but I want to show you the trick for how you can cut out those other shapes that are in farther into the design. All right, so see that eye? Oh, I don't want to rip the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold the paper and try to get it as close as I can to folding it. And I don't fold it all the way. Don't fold it all the way across, just right where that eye is. And then I can cut that out. And hopefully not cut anything I don't want to cut. And there's my little piece of paper. There you go. Look at that. So the same thing with the heart. See the little heart right there? I want to cut that out and make it easy. So I'm going to fold it in half. See? Now I can cut. And when I open it up, hopefully it will look like a heart. And for you grown-ups that are watching, I'm just going to say using smaller scissors does make this easier. Look there. It's not the greatest heart, but it's kind of a heart. So then after I cut everything out, oh, and I could stop right here, I guess, unfold it, and there you have your papel picado. And what I do is, this side is the side with the lines. So when I fold the tab, I fold it to that, like that's the back then, because I don't want people to see the lines. I want them to think I just cut it out without even having a design already for me. So you can continue cutting out the shapes. And like I said, when you get to even one of these diamonds, just fold it in half diagonally, and then it'll be easy to cut out. And then you glue that one to your ribbon also, and then like that, you can hang it up. All right. You also have in your kit something that's more for the grown-ups. So for parents and educators, there is a sheet with some lovely slides that my friend Erin Conway from UW-Madison Extension Rock County created, so that you, even after this program is done, if you want to learn more information about Dia de los Muertos, or some ideas of activities you can do, because what is today? Today's right in the middle. It's November 1st. So you could do some of these other activities, and this is all here, but these slides are also in the Dia de los Muertos album on our Facebook page. So you can refer back to those. But for example, one of the slides talks about what is a multicultural story time, and why would you do those? Well, multicultural story times are really important to learn about other cultures and to get to know your neighbors, because do you have neighbors who, for example, maybe celebrate Dia de los Muertos? Maybe. And if you do a little research and find out about your neighbors, get to know them, and then do some research and checking, get some other books from the library, then you'll be able to talk to them about Dia de los Muertos. There's another one that has just some general resources. So like I said, if you want more information and you want to know more about the history, because Dia de los Muertos is about 3 to 4,000 years old. That's how long people in especially Mexico, have been celebrating or practicing Dia de los Muertos. National Geographic has a really good page on their website about it. There are some other resources that have things, and Teaching Tolerance or tolerance.org, and that is all on the slides. So like I said, one of the other things is activities you can do with your family. So, for example, you can go for a walk at a cemetery. We have a beautiful cemetery here called Oak Hill Cemetery. And they actually do tours, so if you can do a tour sometime, it's a lot of fun to get to know the history of the people who are buried there and the history of the cemetery. And then you can make your own ofrenda. Normally, I have an ofrenda at home, and my grandchildren help me create it. And we put pictures of our loved ones who have passed on our ofrenda also. You also can do things like creating a family tree with photos, or just talking about your family members who've passed and their favorite things to do. Maybe what they did when they were a kid. Y también tenemos esa información en español. So we also have that information, all of this in Spanish as well. Some other activities are celebration activities. So you can go online and see if you can find some other virtual celebrations for Dia de los Muertos. I know in Milwaukee there is usually a big celebration and a parade, but this year they're doing things virtually. So there are many things that you can do online. You could also do face painting and paint your face like Señor Calavera or like a Catrina, the fancy lady. And then you can also do some food activities. Remember, I talked about a couple of things. I mentioned atole, which is a hot beverage made from corn. And I talked about chocolate mexicano, so hot chocolate in the Mexican style with cinnamon, and pan de muerto. And a lot of people also make lots of tamales. Do you know what a tamale is? I love tamales. Me encantan. But you can do things like that. You could try making sugar skulls. Remember, I talked about that also. When I have the program here at the library, we have so much fun making sugar skulls. But the kids always ask, can we eat them? Well, yes, you can, but I don't like sugar skulls. So you can make them, you can eat them, or you don't have to. A lot of times people just use them for decoration too. So part of what my friend Miss Erin does is she works in a program called 4-H Positive Youth Development, and they have a model for doing programs and learning, and it always includes follow-up. So after you learn something, then you do like a reflection. So we have in English y en español some ideas of what kind of questions you can ask your students or your child. We also have some activity resources, recursos de actividades. So again, they are websites that you can go to, and you can learn how to do some of these activities. You can learn more about Dia de los Muertos. And then last but not least, so I read you one book, showed you another book, but we have many, many books here at Hedberg Public Library for children, teens, and adults that in some way either nonfiction books that tell you about Dia de los Muertos, or fiction that in some way incorporates Dia de los Muertos into the book. All of those resources are available. I hope that you enjoyed this very shortened version of the Dia de los Muertos celebration from Hedberg Public Library. And if you have questions, please contact us and let us know. We are happy to help you out. Thank you and have a great day. Hasta luego. Adios.